Dwarves have been in plenty of video games throughout history, from literal pixels that are being moved by computer commands to full-on extraction FPS, to even roguelike bullet heaven. Yes, that's what it's called. I looked up the genre and there it was, where it just fits the mold of being a futuristic ore mining dwarf fighting bugs for a company and for low pay. That kind of game is pushed even further here, with an amazing little title called Below the Stone. Hi, I'm Sankweaver and this is the Indie Observer, a series where I look at indie games new and old and see whether they are worthy of attention if they haven't been released yet, or should be owned if they are released and out for anyone to buy. And today is a bit special, for I've actually met the developers of this game at a little convention called Too Many Games. There, I was able to see such creative and exciting new indie games, and I'm sure would make it big with enough attention. The unfortunate part is that I met them last summer, and I wasn't able to make this video as soon as possible, seeing how school and work was in the way. And I know some of you are here for my Final Fantasy XIV videos, trust me, they're coming. But I have an obligation to this passion right here, giving a shout out to the people who deserve it. My running goal for this channel is to still make 14 videos whenever I get the chance, but I'm going to focus on indie games, seeing how they're kind of been helping me mentally throughout this entire time. Of course, I'll talk about that in another video, but today it's all about Below the Stone. So get that pickaxe ready and your barrel mugs full of that delicious Dwarven beer, because we are heading in. I'm not sure if I wanted to put this in the video, but first I want to apologize for not being on YouTube the entire time. Aside from Dawn Trails coming out, I've had one of the worst years of my life, losing my job, almost going homeless, and having reality hit me in the face each and every time. It's like a shot in the balls each and every incident. But thankfully, I've been streaming, which has been helping me mentally. I've gone back to school and I have a real job. I have people behind me who's been helping me mentally, and I think I know what I want to do with this channel. And it also helped us stay away from the internet for a few months. I mean, everybody is so online and terminally online in this world nowadays that the internet was really kind of hindering me and bringing me down, so I just stayed away. But enough of that, let's get back to the video. So let's start with how it began. With a Kickstarter, we go back to 2019, where the first Kickstarter began and failed. Strollart Studios came in hot with an idea. You're a dwarf, you mine, you fight, you may die, but if you live and escape with your loot, you can make more stuff and go even deeper. A roguelike extraction game with a lot of mining and a lot of shooting, and maybe there's an axe here, maybe some beer there. The unfortunate case here is that the first GoFundMe failed, only making barely over half of the intended goal, and with that, I can only say they had a good first impression with a video that was animated. Well, it would be a good first impression if I didn't meet them personally at Too Many Games rather than watching the video. But they didn't let this get to them, whereas after proving people had an interest in the game, they went ahead and started proving that more people wanted to play the game by traveling. The people of Strollart Studios decided to pick themselves up and go across the land from one convention to another. You'll find that this video really does talk about their origins very well. It was through this experience that they were able to create a fan base that started following the team through social media, anticipating this new dwarf game, including myself, as I was able to meet the team at Too Many Games, like I said before, in Philadelphia this year. Well, considering I don't know when this video is coming out, this year of 2024. I at first had no idea what I was looking at, as the first thing that came to mind was another top-down game called Core Keeper, and after having a conversation and noticing that their merchant character seems to be in another cool-looking game directly next to theirs, and also talking about the fact that it does look like Core Keeper, and a lot of people keep saying that it does look like Core Keeper and they even have a tally, I was given the chance to ask for a copy, and bam! Here I am sharing my experience with you guys. That is to say, this is how they were getting their name out there. After the failure of the first Kickstarter, they had to change plans, and being able to talk to anyone and everyone that catches sight of the dwarf game, they built a good reputation and steadily started making more fans. And let me tell you, the game looks amazing with its own style, with its own grace, simple and fluid. I have a huge bias here because I love old style games. I love the pixel art that comes with old style games because, you know, we don't always need to have AAA budget to make a game look good. And they clearly didn't have AAA budget, but it still looks good. And it helps that they do share the same artist with another game, Blinding Light. And trust me, I'm going to get to that game when that comes out as well. With their arms stretched out and their fires burning, Strollart Studios kept flying, as in their second Kickstarter was a huge success. They started with an idea, tried to get it out there, but it just didn't fly. They then shoved it into people's faces and started a second Kickstarter. They succeeded, and better yet, was picked up by a producer, that being Apogee. With funds from the Kickstarter, they were to work on the game, but Apogee allowed them to divulge into making an indie game swan song. Honestly, the story they tell is that of encouragement, and I highly advise any would-be indie devs to check out their journey. I would also point out their Q&A. It was very insightful, and I hope to be able to see more of their game in the future. I mean, they already gave me a copy of a version of the game. What I want to see is what they can do in the future. That's what I mean. Hey, Syncweaver from the future. So, as you might have seen and perhaps have noticed, but Below the Stone is now out for sale on Steam, for which I had to go back and replay the game again to see how much of it has changed. That means this video will also change from an observation to a full-on review. So, just putting that out there. This game was told to me as an extraction roguelike, meaning you are going into the mine, get stuff, and get out with more resources. And let me just say, this game has an addictive quality to it, unlike the addiction other companies want you to get into, like with free-to-play games and live service games. This addiction of quality is kind of wanting. I want to jump back into it every time I get off of it, so that's the kind of addiction that I think should be there. No, addiction could just be bad all around. Just wanted to add a note here, Balatro is another indie game that is also very addicting, but you don't have to constantly spend money in it. It's just a very addicting game that I just want to go back to. I don't know if that's something people want nowadays, but it's certainly what I want. Just saying. But Syncweaver, how does the gameplay make you so addicted to it? Well, we're about to talk about it. So shut the hell up. You start out as a newly hired dwarf who's tasked with finding another dwarf in this cavern, though the fact that you're by yourself has me questioning the benefits of working for this company, but okay. After freeing the dwarf, who turns out to be a blacksmith, you go back to the Dwarven kingdom, and there isn't much here. It's quite literally one big room with a bunch of stuff in it. There's a few people who don't really seem to be all dwarves, but yeah, this is the kingdom. I do appreciate the dwarf fortress approach, but there's only like 5 dwarves with no king. You familiarize yourself with the entire kingdom and this boss who sent you down there in the first place, the cameo merchant banker guy, some goblin and a hooded figure who keeps asking not to be tattled on. Like, bro, what are you afraid of? There's like literally nobody here. There is no dwarf that it could possibly arrest you. You get familiar with an elf alchemist who I should really question why she's here, the blacksmith who will make all of your stuff, and this old guy who insists that I take up quests while mining. I mean, okay, but I better get some benefits for this. Well, the thing about this old guy is that he won't let you mine without taking on a quest, and you have a chance to earn more gold with the quests you take. And you're going to need that gold because you're going to need potions from the alchemist, and you need to fund the blacksmith. Not to mention, it takes gold to open up more sections in your safe. The place where you're going to be storing all of your stuff, your resources, anything that you find in the mine. Basically, you're going to become a pack rat. And of course, the goblin. You're going to be spending a lot of gold, and you're going to figure out very soon that he overprices everything, which in turn discourages you from spending gold at his place, ever, unless he finds something that is actually necessary. I mean, he does sometimes find something good, but you know. As an added note, if you're going to be going to the potion vendor, just know that those potions will have a lot of ingredients involved, involved, which you will find in the mines. Those potions will help you, especially since they give you like instant health ups and boosts, some regen, and even buffs in terms of maybe attacks and defense in there. Potions will help you. Just go to her and you'll see what I mean. An added note to the smithy, he is your best friend. He is going to give you your armor, your weapons, your ammo, everything. One of the main objectives of this game is to upgrade your armor and weapons anyway, so yes, the blacksmith will be your friend. Make sure you have the resources, because the deeper you go and the resources that you find will apply to the upgrades you can have. And take it from me, stock up on a lot of resources before going to the next level. You never know if a trap or a boss gets the upper hand and kills you and you lose your stuff forever. But just so you know, there are chances of random drops from treasure chests, boxes, bosses, the works, and when you do find them, they will have some sort of applied buff to them that may be better than what you can make on your own. So there is a loot type system when it comes to this game. I mean, the blunderbuss is not something that you can craft, but it is something that you can find, and boy, oh boy, did I need that blunderbuss. I mean, the bow and the crossbow were also good, but the blunderbuss, whew, can they clear a room. So just keep an eye on that, but continue to upgrade your stuff, your weapons, your armor, everything. The main gameplay here is mining from left to right in a procedurally created world where no two runs are ever the same. As a dwarf, you'll be looking for all types of resources that will help you upgrade to the next tier of armor and weapons, so you can go even deeper into the mine. You find all types of ore in the wall, and some of that are basically score numbers for your quest. These quests can range from mining resources you yourself need, resource that only completes quests like these red or blue types of ore, and quests involving slaying a number of monsters you'll find in the mine, which I usually try to take 2 or so of those, because those mobs are easily done in with a whack of the stick, or a sword, or a shovel, or whatever, even your pickaxe. They also like to bum rush you out of nowhere, so it kind of becomes easy when you see a giant glob trying to chase after you, and that happens to be part of the list. Whereas finding ore can be a bit tough because sometimes you just don't find the ore that you want. It'll eventually show up, it just doesn't happen as soon as a mob rushes you in the face. Mining also has its dangers, like this trap that explodes in 4 directions, or this cave-in trap that was told to me by the devs that it only happens on a rare occasion. Hard to believe when in one run it happened a few times, like 5. It happened 5 times. Nonetheless, your escapades will eventually lead you to these structures that have a monolith at the center. These things will either lead you to another structure, for which you can find all types of things at, or this, a dungeon. In dungeons, you'll find all types of resources, monsters, and a boss at the center. The boss is what keeps you from going to the next floor, and because of that, you'll need to be fully prepared before taking one on. And unfortunately, for how much Minecraft and Deep Dungeons, which is a game mode in Final Fantasy XIV, basically a 200 floor challenge for which if you die once, you'll lose the rights to a title. I died here once with my main sunglasses due to a dungeon boss, and all because I wasn't prepared and I lost everything. And that's basically the formula. You go down digging for resources, you come back to make yourself stronger with gear and weapons to challenge the floor boss to go to the next floor. When you die, you lose everything. And no, you cannot recover your items. And yes, I know that may be a bit too much for people. Nobody likes losing everything. Heck, Dark Souls has it that if you die or lose in any kind of way, you can just go back and get your resources. Even Minecraft has a system where you can get your stuff back. It just puts a time limit on the stuff on the floor, and you can get it back as soon as you find where you died. But in Below the Stone, I think their logic was people will get a lot of stuff anyway. They'll keep going back to get more resources, which means they'll probably have multiple resources to build their armor back. And I believe this tough approach was definitely something that they planned and was on purpose. I mean, as long as you have that pack rat mentality. So what exactly do we have here in Below the Stone? We have an early access game where you dig underground for treasure and fight your way deeper for even more treasure to gear yourself up to fight bosses, basically a roguelike perpetual loop for you to challenge yourself to get even deeper and deeper and deeper until you can't go no deeper. And I don't know where that is because they have not finished the game yet. Okay, so we're done with the observation, and I'm going to interrupt this here to give my final evaluation as a review. After playing it a few more hours, most of that getting my armor back because I did die, I will say that this is just as fun as when I started playing it. There are some things that have changed, like you have to go and find the alchemist in order to bring her back so you have access to the potions, which gives an explanation why she's there. There's also the fact that you are rebuilding the kingdom, which is a good idea, but there is some space outside your purview, so you know there's going to be updates addressing that extra space. So far, the formula is still the same. There are enemies that are brought up from the second layer to the first layer. There are some extra missions that you can do, including repairing an escape pod, and there seems to be a bit more resources that you can gather in order to make more stuff. So overall, it looks very positive. And though this is only an alpha, I will acknowledge that it is an alpha, basically another early build. It's not finished, so keep an eye on it. You still need to pay $20 to play the game, and as of it right now, I believe $20 is a fair price. So what is my evaluation of the game after playing it for hours more? I don't think it's an ignore. This is an early access with a $20 price tag, but I do think that it's fair. I think that this game is an own. This is an indie game that I think everyone should at least try. There is a demo for it, and you can try the demo out before paying for it, but I definitely think this is a game you should buy and own. If you get the chance to play Below the Stones, if you have an extra $20, throw it their way, get the game, wait for the updates, or play the game while waiting for the updates, you know how it is. I think this is an own. So check out Strollart Studios Below the Stone, and you tell them on Twitter how the game feels for you. Feedback is very much necessary for indie games, especially one with beer drinking dwarves.